Hi everyone, welcome to another video presentation. In today's video presentation, we'll be talking about an important component of research, which is research questions. Students often need to formulate and answer research questions to achieve their research objectives and complete a research project. Research questions work like an engine for your study, which reflect the scope of your study, research problem, methodology, chosen methods, and the context of your study. So, it's important to understand the process of formulating and evaluating research questions. This presentation has a 5-point agenda. First, we will try to understand what a research question is. Second, we'll talk about different elements that a research question is comprised of. And at the end, we'll discuss how to evaluate the appropriateness of a research question. Before we begin our discussion of the research questions, it's important to know that these three concepts that you can see on your screen are interrelated. The topic, which is the general idea of knowledge that interests you, for example, reading strategies, teaching methodology, etc. Secondly, the research problem that calls for your attention within the topic as it seems not to be working properly or it requires to be investigated. And the research question. The research question is what you specifically want to answer or test by conducting a study. In other words, it states what exactly you will look for in your research study. So these three concepts go hand in hand. We'll discuss the topic and the research problem in a different video. Let's focus on a research question. What is a research question? There are two key things to consider here. First, a research question is what you want to answer or test in order to solve an identified problem or understand it better. It means you have already identified the problem, the research problem. Once you have a research problem, only then you can formulate a research question. Second, it's the guiding element to make decisions on deepening literature review, choosing a valid research method, and analyzing findings. Your research questions will help you determine the scope of your literature review, a research methodology, research methods and tools for collecting data and analyzing your data. These different features will be reflected in your research questions. Now, what are the elements of a good research question? A good research question will have either of these four elements. Depending on your chosen topic and method, your research question will either describe, explore, compare, or explain a research problem. The keywords are what, who, when, where, how, and why. You can see that the first four interrogatives are related to the description of elements of the problem. The fifth one is about the process, whereas the last one is related to causation. We'll discuss them in the next few slides. Here you can see examples of research questions that intend to describe a research problem. The focus of the research question is on the description of the elements of an identified problem, as you can see in the three examples. The first one, what are the digital writing tools used by UMT students to prepare essays in their first semester of the program? These examples that you can see on your screen show how to write a research question if the intention is to describe the elements of an identified problem. I have changed the color of the keywords here to indicate the central phenomenon, participants, and the research site. Similarly, if the intention is to explore the elements of a research problem, you need to keep this particular structure and the keywords in mind that you can see on your screen. For example, what differentiated strategies are used to teach disabled students at elementary schools? Again, I have changed the color of the keywords to indicate the central phenomenon, participant, and the research site. Right, if the focus of your research is to compare various elements of the research problem, you will need to compose research questions like these. For instance, what are the differences in social network usage between Pakistani female and male university students? This is the fourth and last type of a research question, which intends to seek an explanation of a research problem. For instance, what is the relationship between the teaching strategy and the scores primary school students achieve in the math subtest? Or why do first-year British policemen leave the force? Again, you can see the key elements in different colors. So, these were the four different types of research questions that we discussed. Now, how will you evaluate a research question? To evaluate a research question, you need to keep these 7 criteria in mind. Your research question should be specific. It means that what needs to be answered is clearly and concisely stated in your research question. Then, your research question should have the key elements such as what, who, where, when, how, or why. In other words, it should clearly fall in these 4 categories of description, exploration, comparison, or explanation. Then your research question should be capable of being answered. Means it will help the reader to know the scope and practicality of the methods to answer it, the research methods to answer it. The next important point is that your research question should determine the feasibility of your project in terms of time, cost, or skills that you need to have in order to answer it. Your research questions will also illustrate the significance of the topic to the readers. It will also show whether your research problem is really worth investigating. Is it something new or kind of exhausted topic? Is it really a hot topic these days or something outdated? The last thing is that a good research question will surely highlight ethical standards in relation to the participants, data, and the researchers in the field. It won't be achieving an unethical or offensive aim of a research project. So, in summary, a research question is that what you want to answer or test in order to solve an identified problem or understand it better. Your research question will either describe, explore, compare, or explain a research problem in a specific context. To evaluate, you need to keep the 7 criteria in mind that we just discussed. Well, for this presentation, I've used the key book by Green 2008. You should read it in order to develop your understanding of framing research questions a bit more. And of course, that will help you in your research project. Well, I hope this video helps you to write your research questions for your project. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice time. Goodbye.